New polls out this morning from the Pew Research Center. Donald Trump maintains his lead with 25% of possible primary GOP voters in this race for president. That's their primary choice. Meanwhile, Ben Carson, Carly Fiorina gaining momentum, coming in second and third there. Rubio there as well, tied at 8%. And then Senator Ted Cruz at 6%. Democratic voters, let's turn to those polls. Hillary Clinton's poll numbers seem to be up, and she has a double-digit lead over Senator Bernie Sanders. Let's talk about the numbers and polls in general. We've got Jeffrey Skelly with us, a political analyst from the University of Virginia Center for Politics. Also back with us, professor of political science, Jason Johnson. And Jason, I want to start with you. Let's put the GOP numbers back up, because the man everybody expected would be the front runner, or at least the anti-Trump, Jeb Bush, didn't even make the top 5 here. He's in 6th place at 4%. What is going on?
Well, I will say right up front, I was one of those people who thought Scott Walker was going to do well. So clearly, none of us are sure how these polls will work out. Look, the fact of the matter is, Jeb has always had some difficulties. There are many conservative Republican primary voters who don't trust him on Common Core, who think he's a bit of a rhino. And his drop has been substantial. And I don't know that that's something he's really going to be able to recover from, seeing as how Trump has made him his whipping boy in most of the debates. But I think right now, probably the most dangerous person, for lack of a better word, to Donald Trump might be Marco Rubio. I've said before that Iowa voters tend to sort of swing late, and people who are in 4th to 6th place might have a move. And I think Marco Rubio has really been moving up in the polls in a way that won't be harmed as much by Trump's attacks.
All right, Jeffrey, let me come to you, because you're one of the growing number of analysts who believe that surveys and these polls are becoming less trustworthy. You wrote this. You wrote, the science of public surveying is something in now of a crisis right now. Explain for us.
Well, pollsters face a lot of problems, and probably the 2 foremost problems are that a lot of people are using cell phones. Nearly half the population now uses only a cell phone. And the other major problem is that a lot of people don't want to respond to pollsters. Response rates have fallen from, the 80% or so in like the 1980s to even less than 10% now, which means it's really hard to get a sample. It's a lot more expensive to get a sample, a good sample. And these are just major challenges that pollsters face.
Yeah, and Jason, I saw you and the monitor here nodding along during that explanation. I wonder if someone like Trump, and this has been the summer of Trump, although we've now moved into the fall, can capitalize on not just name recognition, but just if, as they did in the Pew polls, they give us who you would support without listing the candidates. They give the name they know.
Well, yeah, it always helps when you're a well-known name. He's had a TV show that's very popular. He's had a brand that's been popular for decades and decades. But this is what I've always said about Donald Trump and his relationship with the polls. At the end of the day, Iowa is a caucus. It's not a primary. You got to have people willing to argue for you. You got to have people willing to go into an empty church basement and argue on your behalf for 6 or 7 hours. And for all of Trump's speeches and all of his television appearances, he needs to be spending more time on the ground in Iowa. He could be doing great in national polls, but if he doesn't have that kind of effort on the ground in Iowa, he could still be beat by somebody who's got a better ground game.
So, Jeffrey, how can these polls be fixed? Is there a way to do that?
They are searching for a solution. A lot of pollsters seem to be turning to the internet, but there are questions about that methodology, and there's really no obvious, silver bullet out there. With internet panels, you run into the problem that it's not really a true probability sample, because random sampling is all about everyone has the same chance of being called or asked the question. And with internet panels, about 9 out of 10 people use the internet in the United States, but that still leaves a decent percentage out there who don't. And young people are more inclined to use the internet, which is actually the reverse of how voter turnout usually works, because young people seem to have a lower propensity to vote.
And there have been
definitely major problems.
There have been surprises before, and I know a lot of people were surprised in 2012 after the results in many of the battleground states. But for now, that's the best we have. Jeffrey Skelly, Jason Johnson, thank you both.
Thanks, Victor.
Thank you.